All right, shall we get started? Yay! I am very impressed by the turnout. This is great. I do want to temper your expectations just a little bit. This isn't going to be some grand, fanciful, design presentation. This is really just a sharing of the progress that Andersen has been making so far with the project, with the demolition. So. Did I sufficiently lower any expectations? If anybody wants to walk out, you're not going to hurt anybody's feelings. So with that, I'll turn it over. We've got Scott Downs here, the project manager, and also Chris Peterson, the superintendent.
And then one thing to add, this will be on YouTube. For anyone that has missed it, you can pass that along. Thank you. Yeah. It'll be recorded to YouTube.
Right. And there'll be opportunity at the end of the presentation for question and answers.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having us. As Eli had said, my name's Scott. I'll be your one of your presenters today, and Chris here will be presenting with me as well. All right, Chris, you want to break down the logistics?
Yeah, absolutely. Good afternoon, everybody. So what you're seeing here is just kind of pictures of the laydown area. So the west alley, the back alley there between Freeway Park and the job site, we now have heavy equipment, material storage, restrooms for the crews, those type of things in that area. Level G on the parking garage, we're using that for some material and equipment storage. And then on the south side of the project, we have our Andersen storage container, as well as the dumpsters that are being hauled out with the demo debris.
And if you guys were wondering about security, we do have 24-hour Can you hear me?
Yes.
And if you guys were wondering, we do have 24-hour surveillance. So we do have, right now we have 2 cameras stationed right around our, one at the south end by the Piggott corridor. And these are, they got like 4 cameras on the head, and then they have lifetime feed monitoring. And, if we have any issues, it will dispatch the police.
Yeah, so I'll go through kind of where we're at and what the soft demo process looks like. So we start out with soft demo. And basically we're going in and we're cutting and capping all the utilities, making sure everything's safe, so obviously we don't rip a wall down and there's water going everywhere or power that may electrocute somebody or anything like that. So that's our first step, which we've done now. We're working on demolition of the units right now, so taking out all the interior walls, the casework, carpet, all that kind of stuff, and pushing that into piles, which goes down a trash chute, which I'll show you pictures here shortly. And then that goes right into, when we're done getting all the soft debris out, then we'll go into CMU and the exterior walls. Those exterior walls we're actually going to be pulling in. And then same thing with the small machine, we'll be bunching that up and pushing that out.
CMU is a concrete masonry unit. It's the cinder blocks.
Correct, the blocks, that's right. So then once all that material's round up, pushing it down, like I said, we took the west stairwell and took all the stairs out of it, and we're pushing all the debris down that and using that as a trash chute, and then that comes out the west end of the building where we load it into dumpsters from there. Again, there's some more pictures of that up here if you want to keep going there. So on the far left there, that's just the kind of the cut and cap, showing the utilities above. When they're cut and capped, we actually cut both sides of the conduit so that when the demo subcontractor goes in there, there's no doubt that that stuff's dead and there's no power, no water, nothing charged in any of those systems. The middle picture is just kind of what it looks like as we're going through demoing all the soft demo and pushing the debris out. So kind of down to the bare structure. And then the last one is the CMU, or the concrete blocks, being demolished and pushed into piles as well. Okay, so I talked about the Bobcat. So on the left there, you can see the small little Bobcat. They're little mini machines that push all the material around. The folks in those are in full cage, so they're protected from any kind of material that could bounce around or poke in at them. So they run those. They push the equipment. What you're looking at on the right there is I talked about how we push the debris down the shaft. So we push the debris down the shaft, and then somebody has to get that out and do it. So what happens is when they're pushing the debris down the shaft, on the bottom there's plywood up that says red light, and then the top will be opened up green light, so as they're pushing that down, and then when they're done pushing the material down, then the plywood goes back up on the top here, which says red light, so not to push any material down, then the folks come in down below and pull the material out. So that's what that picture is. And then, so on the left here, you can kind of see, I talked about how we punched out the stairwell, but you can see there's an opening there that we broke out to get the material out easily, so they can pull that out as that material builds up. The machine on the right there, that excavator, will grab that material, load it right into the dumpsters, and then it's hauled off site. And there's the beautiful dumpsters being filled with that machine, and then, of course, being hauled off on 8th down below there. So this is probably an area that a lot of you have seen, because if you look down from the central tower, you can actually see the soft demo on the roof. So taking off all the foam, the roofing material, getting down to structure up there as well. And the picture on the right is just them beginning the process of demoing the patio area up there. So taking all the steel and the pavers and that kind of stuff out of there.
Yeah, Mona, yeah, is up. She's up.
So these are just some pictures inside of what it's looking like now. You can see it's looking pretty bare. The first picture on the left there, level 3, at the east stair facing west. The one on the right is at the elevator core facing east. And you can see the nice bobcat there for moving the material out. Another one on the center of the floor on level 3, facing south on the left there. And then the one on the right is just kind of, most of that material there is just for its netting and so forth for when we do start demoing the exterior and the structure. There'll be netting that they're going to roll off the side of the building to keep any debris from going away. So that's what that stuff is. Level 2, so on the left there we got the northeast side of the tower facing west, looking down the hall there. And then from the elevator core facing west as well, so getting gutted out pretty good. Okay, down to level 1, so elevator core facing east, and then east side facing west. Just a look at what it looks like in there now. Level G on the parking garage. I talked earlier about storage up there, but what you see there is just some hay wattles, which helps in directing any of the slurry or dirty water that's running off site, so we can collect that and get that cleaned up so it doesn't leave site.
And on the right side, I don't know if you guys remember from the last presentation, I had mentioned that there's these robotic demo machines that are remote controlled. Well, over here on the right-hand side, that's what they look like when they're all compacted down and ready to be moved around to the site.
They're actually small enough that we'll put those in the elevator to bring them up and down, so they shrink down pretty small.
So just talking a little bit about the structural demolition process. So first things first, what we do is once we're done with all the soft goods for demolition, we'll actually go through and start decommissioning the elevators and removing all the electrical equipment, because up till that point we have needed the electrical to run a lot of our equipment, and then we'll actually be utilizing the electrical equipment until we get to a certain point in the garage, which was level, remind me, is it level A, and because we'll essentially use the electrical for those Brocs, which are those robotic demo machines. But we'll decommission the elevators here shortly, and then the next phase would be installing exterior netting around the building, so that way we can contain all the debris from, as we're doing demo operations and working our way down. And then we'll begin demolition of the rooftop floor or slab with the Brocs, which are the robotic machines. We'll use those also to demolish the columns, structural concrete walls, and slabs. And then once we get to level A, we're going to start demolishing the concrete with a high reach excavator, which we'll show you in some of these later pictures. And then as we accumulate and process all the rubble from, the demolishing of the material, we'll be separating the rebar and the concrete, and we'll be utilizing the rebar or recycling the rebar and utilizing the rubble from the concrete to essentially use it for staging equipment later on in the shoring process. And then we'll continue to repeat this process until we get all the way down to the bottom. So as you can see here, there's this Brock, which we've been talking about. And you can see how there's a guy here, standing there with a remote control. And so some of the positives about it is that it's remote controlled. So the operator can essentially stand from a safe distance and do his work, standing away from any potential hazards. It's compact, we've discussed. You can fit it through doorways, you can fit it through an elevator, so it allows access to areas that, other traditional demolition methods may not give you the access. And it's also safer from a perspective of less, hand demolition, which, is could be more prone to having injuries due to, utilizing heavy, I'm sure you guys have all heard of a jackhammer. And, holding one of those isn't the funnest job. It does have a three-part arm. It's telescopic, so it can rotate 360 degrees. They're electric, so they're quiet. They don't have the sound of a diesel engine or anything like that. And they have versatile attachments. You can put multiple attachments on them. Hydraulic hammers, they can have crushers. You'll see in a video here shortly some of the capabilities that they have. And then, yeah. That's a very good question.
The question was,
Tool deserves a raise. I spent tens of thousands.
right, the question was, well, how many people does that machine replace?
Well, that's a hard one to answer. I mean, if people are out there with jackhammers, you probably have full crew, right? 6 to 10 folks. These are used more for situations where you can't get big machinery in, right? Like the next one we'll show is actually a high reach where it can do 3 times the demo, 5 times as fast, and that's ideal, what we'd want to do, but these are more higher where we can't reach or where we're next to the central tower, so these are more precise where they can not only replace workers from doing it by hand, but also get into those tight areas where you can't get the big machines into. So that's why we're doing the top floors with those and then the separation between the buildings.
And also ensure that the tasks are done safer.
Correct, and not putting anybody in harm, and really running a jackhammer all day, people get injured fast. I mean, just that repetitive motion, it can be a strain, not to mention if something were to fall on them or anything else. So absolutely way safer, yeah.
The question is how much money does it save?
Scott, you want to take that one?
That's a good question. I don't have the data with me. I could potentially ask my demo contractor to give me some studies. I'm sure it's been done.
Well, I'm sure if you're saving yourself from just one really bad injury, it already pays for itself.
Absolutely.
That's a good point. Here's another photo of the Brock actually on our site here, so you can kind of see it in action. It's got a bucket attachment. God, I could imagine how much fun driving one of these would be. Anyways, yeah. So there's one lucky guy that gets to utilize these, and yeah, this is at the roof level of the Northwest, and they're currently doing the parapet wall demo, which is the predecessor to the next phase, which would be essentially being able to take down the exterior walls. This is the high reach that we've been talking about. So this is actually the machine that will save lots of hours and lots of money. It's got a lot more. Obviously, it's got a lot more reach, and it's going to be a bigger machine, so it's going to have more capabilities of crushing material and heavier hammers on it. They do have a pretty high vertical reach. The extended booms allow them to reach areas that other pieces of equipment might have more difficult times getting to. There is so the top down is essentially the approach. They'll actually, once the Brock work is complete, the high reach will essentially start at the point where it can reach as high as it can, and it'll continue to nibble off rubble as it works its way down. One thing you'll notice here on this picture here is the cab actually has a tilt to it for better visibility for the operator. They do have real-time sensors that monitor the center of gravity to help prevent situations of turnover on these machines. And then they also, a lot of them have integrated water misters and sprayers to help isolate and force the dust into moisture and bringing it down to the ground. And here's another cool video.
The question was, instead of this construction noise, can we get that same music instead?
Yes, talk to Eli. We'll get some headphones and and your question about the dust. Some of what we were just commenting on that because some of what was on there was dust and some of it's the mist. The scenes where they were shown and there was dust coming off, they were in more open areas and they didn't have the duster or the steamers running. So the misters will be running full time here. We will mitigate that dust. We will be watching to make sure if any dust comes up at all, we're going to shut them down immediately and get a better plan, get more water on it. So they'll have fire hoses and as well as the misters on the machine as well. Do we want to take more questions, or do you want us to finish? Eli, it's up to you.
I guess we're on a roll if people have some questions about what they just saw.
That's pretty cool, though, right?
Is that big machine electric also?
Is the big machine electric?
It is. Not.
I assume that some other company owns this equipment and runs it. It's not a part of your company.
Correct. It's North Star who we hired to do the demolition. They own the equipment and they run it, and this is what they do every day. So, yep.
Do you have an ETA on how long the demolition process will continue? And I know you've sent us information about the times of day and the start and stop times. So it'd be good, I think, if you could mention that and put parameters around it.
Yes.
Should we continue? Will that be mentioned?
It's not. It's
Okay.
not.
So all right. Good questions.
Yeah, so the overall structure will be down by May, and then there will be some foundations left. So in May, we get down, the structure's down, we'll build the rubble up, we'll start putting the shoring wall in. And as the shoring wall goes in and we start coming down, there'll be intermittent demo of some of the retaining walls from May to into July. But that'll be intermittent, it'll be a lot less. The bulk of it will be down by May.
Do we have more presentation? Or
Yeah, there's a few more slides.
all
in
right.
here, yeah.
Let's just get through the few more slides, and then we can start the questions and answers in earnest.
Okay. So as we're going through and processing the structural demo material, we'll essentially pulverize the concrete into smaller concrete chunk sizes called riprap, and we'll utilize that as existing material support, so we don't have to import as much material in when we're doing our drilling operations with shoring. So we need all this extra material to get our drill rigs up to the elevation higher up so that we can drill. And then, as discussed, we'll recycle the reinforcing. So in this photo here, this just kind of gives you an example. Everybody's kind of wondering, well, why do you need to get the drill rig higher? So when you look at the existing parking garage over in the west wing, the road kind of slopes down here. It gets to an all-time low right here, and you come into the parking garage on grade, or there's earth below it. Well, the natural grade actually slopes up towards the central tower, so there's actually a retaining wall right here. Can't see it. There's a you want to go point? So this, where all the green arrows are, is essentially earth material. And what we're going to utilize is we're going to utilize some of the existing walls within the building. Once we start to demo it, the structure actually creates a diaphragm, like it kind of like it adds some rigidity to it. But as we take the slabs out, we're going to lose some of that rigidity. So we actually have to drill in soil nails to essentially utilize some of the existing walls to be able to withstand some of the loads imposed by our equipment. A lot of engineering planning goes into it, but you'll see here over on the left side, this is what we call a soil nail. So that vertical wall that you're seeing on that left side is the existing basement wall. And so we're going to have a drill rig, and it's essentially going to drill through that wall, and we're going to use, call it rebar, and then pump grout into it and stress this to essentially, it's going to be like a friction nail going into the earth. which will help hold that wall in place. Is there anything you want to add to that? But yeah, so I guess with that, those are some of the upcoming activities that we're getting ready to do. And by doing so, it's going to allow us to start stockpiling material and start drilling some of our highest points that we got to get our big drill rig is in the furthest southeast corner, which is near 9th and University. So, but with that, we want to open it up for any questions?
Sure. Yeah, we'll do our typical questions and answers format. We'll begin over in the chapel area where Lauren will pass the microphone. In the middle section, I'll pass the microphone. In the social room, Christy will pass the microphone. And then in the Fireside Lounge, I believe we have Brian Holtz will...
Yes,
Brian Holtz will pass the microphone, but he's looking for a microphone to pass.
I'll get it for him. Once I pass out this microphone.
Okay.
Here's our first question.
You mentioned reuse, the rebar is being reused, the concrete is being, some of it's being reused. Could you tell us a little more about the reuse and disposal process?
Yeah, for sure. So this job is LEED, and so
LEED, Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, is the credential that our project will achieve. We're achieving gold certification for this project.
thanks for that,
You're
Eli.
welcome.
Sometimes I forget I'm the only contractor in the room. But yeah, so we are going for LEED Gold certification on this project, and I guess to sum up what that means is how we responsibly divert materials as we get rid of them. So, for example, on this project, about 50% of all diverted materials will be all waste streams will be diverted materials to recycling centers. And, you know, of a job this size, like I've seen closer to 80%. A lot depends on how, you know, once they run the numbers. But yeah, concrete will get all recycled, be reused. Reinforcing will get reused. A lot of this stuff will leave the site, like as we're constructing, as commingled, recycled, and then it'll go to a sorting facility, and they'll do their best to, again, try to hit those larger numbers of 80%.
All right, anybody in the center group?
I'm curious if you had any hazardous materials in the demolition.
I can speak to it. So the West Wing has always had some asbestos in some pipe insulation. So that's always been, we've always been aware of that. And obviously Andersen had properly abated it during the demolition.
That's correct. And just to clarify for everybody on the discovery. So before we go and do a project this size, the L&I essentially requires us to go, like the owner to go through and do like have an abatement company or abatement services company go through and do a clean faith survey and inspect the entire project for any materials that could be considered hazardous. They did do a report. Then as we go through and do the demolition process, our North Star's very well trained in essentially keeping an eye out for those sorts of items. There's typical items they might see that they're used to it in their experience, and in this case, there was a handful of elbow fittings that, in their past, they've seen having asbestos-containing materials. It's less than 1%. I'm trying to remember what the terminology of it was, but it was less than 1%, which was
of the elbow material.
Correct.
Not 1% of the entire West Wing.
Of the elbow.
Of the small little piece that is insulating the pipe, of that assembly, less than 1% of it contains asbestos.
Thank you for that. Less than 1% actually contains asbestos, but the way the way LNI and PISCA, which is the agency that is Puget Sound Clean Air Act, is responsible for actually monitoring that. They don't require a permit because that level was so low. So it's a pretty clean building, all things considered.
All right, over here now. Dave, did you have a question still? I saw your hand go up earlier.
Can you comment on the training that the people go through to operate the sort of medium and heavy equipment?
Yeah, so I could take that one. So all of them are equipment operators, so they're union equipment operators, so they go through a 4-year training through the operators union to even have their card, and then North Star puts them through training as well, both for safety and operating and all that. So they've done quite a bit of training. Exactly what that training is, I can't tell you, but I know they do have all the certifications for that equipment.
And as far as the high reach equipment, it's a very short list of operators that have the certifications or qualifications to be manned on one of those machines. So usually some of the best operators in Seattle are the ones that actually are getting put on those pieces of equipment.
Anyone in the Fireside Lounge?
Yes, I will have somebody coming right now. Two thoughts. One is, what is the plan for capturing the water to abate the dust? And the second question is, how are the trees being protected on the south side of the building?
Yeah, I could take that. So part of our permit with the city of Seattle does require tree protection. So we have fencing up at the drip line of all the trees that are within the site. As far as how we're catching the water, so any excess water, we had a picture in there of some of the hay wattles and silt fence and that kind of stuff. So any of that water that accumulates will be pumped into Baker tanks, which aren't out there yet. And next time we see you guys, we'll show you pictures of that. But we will have a whole water treatment plant. So there'll be a couple big tanks that the water goes into. It settles out in there, and then it goes through a filtration system before it's discharged into the storm system, which is also regulated by City of Seattle. And we have a third-party company that does all that water filtration and testing.
We will also utilize BMPs, which are called best management practices, but those would consist of, like, I'm sure you guys have seen straw wattles. They're these netted straw wattles that are, they can be 10 to 20 feet long. And we'll utilize those as we see, if we see channels of water flowing in certain ways, we'll utilize those to ensure that we're able to divert the water and collect any sediment. And then on top of that, we have gone preemptively ahead and protected all storm drains with catch basin socks to essentially filter out any sediment of any material that runs into those catch basins, and then those will be maintained by us throughout the duration of the project. We'll replace those and keep those clean.
I have a question over here.
I didn't really understand your explanation of the riprap. Is that a permanent part of the West Tower structure, or is it something that you use temporarily in order to reach certain places?
Yeah, so the riprap is being utilized. So as we go through and demo the building, one of the disadvantages we have is elevation change from the bottom of, because we're built into a hillside and there's an existing structure there. If we didn't have an existing structure, we would just drill our piles, set our piles, remove all the earth as we lag and work our way down. But because most of the grade's already been dug out, we actually need to get our drill rigs up to pretty much the 9th and University elevation, which is out front here. And as you're aware, there's a big hole because there's a garage. So we got to figure out, we're utilizing some of the existing conditions in the structure to be able to get our drill rig up higher. And we have to use that material.
Yeah,
And
instead of bringing dirt in to bench up to that, the rubble, we're using the rubble from the concrete that we're demoing to get up there, and then once the shoring and legging wall's in, then that'll be hauled off-site to recycle.
Oh, it will be hauled out.
It will not be left there permanently.
Thank you.
This is a teeny detail type thing. At the beginning, how do you get out all the little light fixtures, the hardware, handles, doorknobs? Does somebody come in and salvage those things?
Yep, that was already salvaged. They're already gone. Yeah, anything that was really usable, we did our best to get that out of there. We even sold a lot of appliances to made them available to staff, and yeah, so that was already cleared out. Yes.
Yeah, and there's other pieces from the building that they're being utilized. Elevator drives, door hardware, a lot of different things that the facilities team has been coordinating with us to ensure that, hey, we use this stuff all the time. Let's make sure we get that so we have all those parts.
When does the garage go down? It looks like it's a staging area for the whole project.
Yeah, so right now we originally scheduled on the 12th to do that because of that soil nails that he was showing on that picture on that retaining wall. So that's going to start this week. Those are going in. And then at the end of the month, that'll start coming down the garage wall. So, yep.
Fireside Lounge.
Any questions in the Fireside Lounge? Very well educated out here. Thank you. No questions at this time.
I have one question in the back.
Oh, hi. First, a compliment. I'm a resident in an E unit, so I look directly down on the West Wing, and watching the demolition of the rooftop area there, your crew did work, used all the safety precautions, and it was interesting to watch. One of the things that concerns me, in addition to noise, however, is dust. And I don't think earplugs are going to solve that problem, which is the typical response. What are we going to be doing for dust control for those people directly affected?
So we will work with residents on a case-by-case basis. As soon as you detect that you are sensing an ingress of dust, please contact the front desk, and they'll put in a work order for you for, the facilities department to come by your apartment and assess the situation.
Yeah, and I will tell you that L&I has pretty strict laws for us and for our workers on site as well, on keeping that dust down, making sure that I'm not exposed to that as well. So if we keep it where it needs to be for our guys on site, then it's going to be minimal or nothing off site that you guys will experience. So we're doing that with the High Reach has misters on it. Those Brocks do not have misters built onto them, but there is one guy running it and another guy with a hose spraying it all to keep everything moisture on it so that dust isn't going. And then, like I talked about when somebody else asked up here, but we will have people monitoring that, and if there's any plumes of dust or we see anything out of the ordinary, we're going to shut them down immediately and make sure that we come up with a better plan to make sure we're keeping that dust down, whether that's more water, more hoses, or whatever that may be.
And to be clear, Horizon House, we're sensitive to the fact that our residents may have a lower threshold for dust than what L&I may have for workers out in the field. So, yes, Roger.
Without getting into extreme detail, could you talk about the things beyond L&I and city requirements that are part of LEAD, that we're doing extra things to get that goal level?
So I'm thinking, okay, so to achieve LEED, it's more than just the manner in which the existing building is demolished. There's some other points, and of course, we don't have Methuen right now in the room, or GLUMAC. GLUMAC is our lead consultant and facilitator. But for instance, we achieve LEED not just by diverting existing materials, making sure that they get recycled, but it also is
I have a couple things, Eli.
Oh, you do? Okay,
Yeah,
then
yeah.
I'll stop talking.
So the way that the scoring rubric works, there's several different categories, and there's actually only a few categories that, say, the general contractor might play into it. But like speaking for like Methuen, there's like when they're actually picking light fixtures, or when they're doing say plumbing fixtures, they're trying to hit a certain GPM. You know what I mean?
Gallons per minute.
Gallons per minute to essentially be more effective with water saving or electricity. And, you know, City of Seattle's got a pretty stringent code as well, but there's certain LEED requirements, but like say, for example, occupancy sensors within common areas. So there's several design criteria that make us build a more effective building. And then when it comes to like construction, there's certain things that we can do to be more responsible. We can source materials from within 500 miles of the project site rather than importing it out of the country. So there's certain things that we can do. We can procure materials that are more like that are lower VOC, and then those are some of the examples that come to mind.
Volatile organic compounds.
So like paint thinner would be high VOC, and we would be trying to find low VOC. So like when you walk into a unit, like it won't smell like, you know, like off-gassing
formaldehyde
or formaldehyde or other noxious gases that, you know, so.
Right. Indoor air quality is definitely a component of it. And like Scott said, bringing materials in from sustainable sources. So lumber, for instance, having it come from sustainable forestry practices might be a lead.
That definitely helps. And then I think there's some also material selections on different materials that we might actually choose more sustainable materials versus less sustainable materials. So not even necessarily, it could be, I'm trying to think of an example, like using, I'm trying to think the Parador, it's a PVC-free product. We're looking into utilizing a PVC product because of the process of which it takes to make PVC. So like they're even looking into like how certain flooring products are made and the impacts that they have on the environment.
And some of the measures for LEED have nothing to do with anything extra that we're doing to the project, but it's just the nature that we're building in a dense urban area instead of going out into the Cascades and tearing down wildlife, wildlife habitats. Just that itself gets us some LEED credit. Okay.
What happens to the elevators when you're done with them? We could use a couple good ones over here.
So they're salvaging a handful of parts off the existing elevators in the West Wing, the ones that the facilities team thinks that they'd be able to utilize, and then the rest of the materials will be recycled as we demo the building.
Fireside Lounge?
You are getting new elevators in the West Wing.
Yes. We do have a question out here.
Looking ahead, what is the process going to be when you put in the profound stabilizing foundations into the hillside? I don't know what the terminology is.
So the question is what will be the process for the method in which we fortify that hillside, that shoring? So it'll be the soil nails the friction soil mills, and I believe, how many soil mills will there be?
Well, do we know if she's asking about the temporary soil nails that we were talking about during the presentation, or from the entire shoring system? Because those would be two different things.
She's asking about the permanent, and as well, she was curious on the timing.
Yeah, so I can hit that real quick. So we don't have any pictures of that, but we have done it in previous presentations. But that process involves a big drill rig, which will drill holes all the way down, way below the foundation of the building, and put in H-piles, which are essentially steel beams. Put those in, cast those in with concrete in place, and then as we dig down, wood legging goes between those, and at every 6 feet or so, there is tiebacks, which are similar to the soil nails that we showed here, but those tiebacks will go in, we'll dig 6 feet, add a row of tiebacks, dig 6 feet, add a row of tiebacks. And that's only temporary. Once we get the actual building foundation in, and we go up with all the foundation walls and the slabs and everything that's against that, that all actually gets detensioned, so that if anybody ever needed to dig through there later, it's not an issue. But that's a picture there of what that temporary shoring looks like, just for us to build the structure. And then again, that's only temporary. The structure itself is that final shoring which holds back the earth. Did that answer that?
And just for clarity, the current condition you're looking at is after it's all done, but like the grade would be equivalent to the grade on both sides of that wall. So like the earth would be all the way up, you drill your steel, or you would drill a hole, put your steel in, essentially pour grout around it, and then as you dig down every 4 feet, you're going to be then putting the wood legging in. And then it's essentially going to slide down as you dig.
Thank you.
I have a question over here.
In my experience, having lived here my entire life, the city of Seattle has some pretty strict noise ordinances. And I wondered if there will be a phone number provided not just to Horizon House residents, but also to the inhabitants of the many buildings and apartments that will be accessible easily to residents in our area that might require some delays or reconfiguring of your construction processes, should there be excessive noise levels created by the construction that will most likely exceed the usual Seattle decibel levels.
Yeah, will you guys help us come up with the process to make it easy to delay your project?
There are things like that that happen.
If somebody has a problem with our project, your first contact is always the front desk.
I'm not talking about us. I am talking about the neighborhood around us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the neighborhood, we will be sending weekly bulletins out to the neighborhood with our contact info as well as City of Seattle stuff as well. We don't foresee overgoing the limits. There will be some exceptions where we'll have to get noise variance. For example, when we set up the tower crane, that's going to happen over the weekend and into the night and so forth. So there will be a few occasions where we will actually have to get a noise variance from the City of Seattle. They'll approve that. That notification will go out to everybody way in advance.
Yeah, but that is part of the construction, is that you are in contact with the neighbors, correct?
Correct. And that is a City of Seattle requirement that we reach out to all the neighborhood. Absolutely. Yep.
Right. The center section, anybody? Yeah.
As I walk around what used to be the West Wing, I'm aware of how much good-sized, large-sized glass windows we have. How are you going to, are you going to be able to keep them intact as whole pane of glass, or is that going to be smashed?
No, as part of the demo process, the glass will be broke into the building and then pushed out our trash chute.
No. No saving.
Anyone out in the Fireside Lounge?
I have one coming up. Go, Mary.
With regard to the university garage and the valet parking we've had for guests in the past, I understand there's a map available of parking garages and surface areas, and how do we access that?
That out is on our HH Connect, and we should have printed copies of that at our reception center. Or if we don't have those, we'll make sure that you have those alternatives. So for your guests that come to visit.
I have a question over here.
The noise, as I looked at those big high reach machines, those things are really noisy. And those of us who are immediately adjacent to that construction site will be severely impacted. How do you deal with the noise?
So again, on a case-by-case basis, if you are suffering, we don't want any resident suffering in silence. Sorry, that was an intentional pun. Call the front desk. We'll get you some hearing protection.
So
Absolutely, we will.
So
I wouldn't say
currently-
they're useless, not if you're using them correctly. Hearing protection is very effective.
So currently, we have two different types of hearing protection at the front desk. And then we will also be getting noise canceling headphones if needed for D&E apartments.
Yes. But yeah, definitely let us know as soon as you start experiencing problems. Yeah, we want to address it right away. And the sooner we solve a problem for one resident, the sooner we can have the solution prepared and ready for other residents as well. Yeah, we went through a similar exercise back when we were performing the facade replacement of the West Wing. And so we have a couple of former West Wing residents who can attest to our willingness to do what it takes to assuage those concerns. Anybody here in the center for a comment or a question? No?
Has anyone thought about what messages we're going to leave there for posterity?
To leave in under the footing of the foundations. I have not thought about that at all. I admit. No, I
You
would.
all get down there in the pit when the concrete's wet and stomp around.
Oh, okay, like in the wet concrete. Is that what we're talking about? A time capsule. A time capsule. I'm receptive to that if somebody wants to take that on.
I know there's going to be more. I know there's going to be more dust, and the North Tower uses air conditioners that are on all the time, of fresh air coming in and is heated. Is that not true? So our filters may have to be changed more frequently. Have you thought of that?
We've got our chief engineer in the room, Sean McMahon. What is, if it comes to that, where our air filters are prematurely clogged?
We replace filters semi-annually. The air that feeds the North Tower apartments actually comes from the North Tower roof, which give me peace of mind that the apartment should be pretty well shielded from dust, because it would have to get all the way to the North Tower roof to get into your apartment. And also, having said that, we also are using MERV 13 filters, which are pretty much HEPA grade, so you're already getting that additional filtration, whereas other apartments that don't have central air, which would be the remaining parts of our campus, so you're better off in the North Tower, is what I'm trying to say, in terms of dust. I guess I could have put that a little bit differently. But
everybody in the Central and East Tower, you're in wonderful apartments also.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Thanks, Sean. Anybody in the Fireside Lounge?
Not at this time.
Anyone on the east side of the room? No?
All right. Anybody else? Are we just doing this one last round and calling it good? All right. We've got one more here.
What happens to all the rebar?
So the steel reinforcement, along with the concrete, is being diverted to the recycling centers, where they will recycle it into new future construction products, material, to future construction material.
Correct.
Yes. Fireside Lounge.
We're okay out here. No further questions at this time.
I just thought this was fascinating. I would like to be a construction person when I grow up. I just think it was, it was great. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
We're always looking for good people, so.
Thank you. And that is a beautiful segue for the question that I have for everybody is, what would you like to see as the frequency for these specific meetings where we're sharing with you just an update on our construction progress? What would be a good frequency for this? Quarterly. Okay. What was that? I'm also hearing monthly. I'm also seeing people shake their heads no to monthly. Well, how about if we do quarterly, and if the next time we meet, if we change our mind, you reserve. This is Horizon House. You reserve the right to change your mind. So we'll meet again quarterly, I guess. One more question.
Well, I was wondering if we could have a viewing stand in the Sky Lounge and have some kind of information of what's going on.
Oh, right. Okay, so the question is can we have, for instance, a like a vignette, a marquee, a vignette to show what it is that we're looking at with explanation and boards, maybe. Yeah. Yes. Let's do that. All right.
Eli's one out in the Fireside Lounge to wrap you up.
Okay. All right. One more.
So Audubon and Cornell Lab have bird cams by bird nests. What about construction cams so people can watch what's happening?
Was that something that Andersen, do you guys possess that type of technology?
We are putting it up. Yeah, we are putting a camera up.
Oh, you are? Like on the Cielo, maybe?
Told us they were going to do it.
On the Central Tower? So
I've never done Oxblue, Don. Can we send the link out?
We'll look at some options for us to be able to get a view so we can have a time lapse as it builds up.
Yeah, we're gonna have a camera mounted. We're just trying to figure out where to go so we can do a time lapse. Oxblue does have a link where people can log into it. We'll have to kind of work with Horizon House to figure out how that protocol works. But yes, we will definitely be having a camera from a kind of bird's eye view.
Well, great. All right. Well, thank you so much, and we'll see you in 2 months.